60 Minutes, Rewind.
Hi, this is Steve Croft, and this is 60 Minutes. Tonight we have an interesting development coming out of Russia, St. Petersburg, Russia, in which a violent crime gone wrong and a disturbing story of not one, not two, but three murders in what seems to be a triple axe murder. The circumstances and intentions of the perpetrator are still unknown, but tonight on 60 Minutes we have several exclusive interviews with individuals in the community familiar with the victims.
What's the idea of making so many knots? It must be inlaid with diamonds the way you tied it.
Alyona Ivanova, the middle-aged sister of Lizaveta Ivanova, was the owner of a small pawn shop in St. Petersburg and the assumed target of this event. Now, both Alyona and Lizaveta, as well as Lizaveta's unborn child, were brutally murdered inside their home. Here and now, we give you the status of the investigation through the first-person accounts of those with knowledge of the incident and connections to the Ivanovas. First, I'm going to introduce Porvory, an investigator and the lead account of the police's intent and goal in determining who actually perpetrated this crime.
Yeah, so we just going to the pawn broker like we've done a number of times before. Walked up the stairs to her apartment. We got up there and noticed that it was a bit out of the ordinary. The door was bolted from the inside, which was a bit suspicious. We knocked a couple times, and after no one showed up for a few minutes, we realized that something was probably going on inside, and we sent for help.
Yeah, and so we think that maybe while I stayed upstairs, basically just trying to see what was going on, and I waited for a while, went down to check on him. We think the perpetrator might have left at that time. Then when we got the door open, we saw obviously all of that stuff that happened.
Hope you don't mind that I came with some prepared remarks. Given that the police investigation is still ongoing, we can't release every inch of detail that we know. But today, I'd really like to talk to you about this article that came across my desk maybe about a month ago. And it's basically it's a really interesting article from a really interesting man, and it basically talks about how there's these subgroup of men among us, and because of their intellect, because of their rational ability, they are able to carry out murder and really heinous acts without feeling an inch of guilt or remorse, and they feel like they're able to enact whatever change that they want in society, completely amoral, never thinking about the moral implications of their actions, empathizing with their victims. And it really, as a God-fearing man myself, the article really stood out to me. And, initially when I saw it, I thought of it as a cry for help. And, I was making attempts to reach out to the person involved. But, given the actions these last couple of weeks, I can't help but think that the author may be linked to the crimes at hand. And, I'm really hoping that within the next couple of weeks or so that the author or the person behind the murder, does some really deep thinking and thinks about, rehabilitating his soul, healing their soul, because it's still possible. If Lazarus was able to rise from the dead, so can this person as well. And I guess maybe this is not supposed to be part of the investigation, but, if you're watching out there, murderer, I'd really hope you take these words I'm saying true. Everyone and anyone can be rehabilitated. We're not all Superman.
The world's divided into the ordinary and the extraordinary. The ordinary must live in obedience and not break the law because they're, well, ordinary. And the extraordinary, well, carte blanche.
Yeah, I am a recent customer of the pawnbroker, although I don't know anything at all about the murder. But I was in the tavern yesterday and actually heard some students talking about how the world might be a better place if she had died and how everyone would benefit from her not being here anymore. And I have to say I do kind of see where they're coming from, although I certainly would never act on that. But I do have to say that the pawnbroker's sister is kind of a loudmouth and really spills a lot of details about what's going on at the shop, and I think it would be pretty easy to figure out when no one would be home and when the shop is vulnerable to being robbed or the pawnbroker is vulnerable to being killed. But again, I don't have any personal details of what might have happened. There are a lot of people living in poverty in this city, and families and children that need to be supported. And I'm not saying I committed the crime, but whoever did went in there with the intention of taking what he needed to help out his loved ones, and fortunately had to kill a few people in the process. But the intentions were good and I think justified.
Hey Steve, big fan of the show. Thanks for having me on. What's going on with the case? I can't tell you much, but a couple weeks ago, I had this. Oops, there goes Steve. How's it going? Long time fan. Glad to finally be on this show. Watch 60 Minutes every night with the wife and kids. Anyway, I can't tell you much about the investigation because of secret details. It has to be under wraps. But what I can tell you is, I did have this really interesting interaction with this strange student last week at the Crystal Palace. He basically told me all the details of the case before, right after it happened. He wasn't even one of our suspects. But he was drunk. I was drunk. He was joking. So I can't really take it for face value. But I gotta say that when I looked at this guy, the impression that he gave me definitely looked kind of guilty to me. He's not really on the suspects list yet, but Raskolnikov, I'd start looking at that guy, not to start off like, oh, there goes the gun. But, yeah, man, I don't know. I think we should look into him. Maybe, your viewers out there, know something about him, could help us out with the case, so.
So, what do you think of this case? Excuse me, sir, no drinking on the show.
Oh, I don't know anything about this. I just you ask me anything.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think you can leave.
Are you kidding me? I don't know anything about this case.
Excuse me, sir, there's no drinking on the show.
So they call me Gunpowder. I don't know much about the case, but I'm the enforcer. Nothing bad goes down without me executing. And I don't know where I don't know where the investigation is leading, but we're going to find them. We're going to find them, and I was carrying my gun with me, and I'm ready to take care of business.
Your friend Raskolnikov was on the show, and he seemed a bit ill. I just was wondering what you thought of his involvement in the case and whether he knew anything more than what he told us.
You're right. Raskolnikov has kind of been under the weather lately, hasn't been responding to us much. It's kind of been me and his caretaker been looking after him. And strangely enough, every time we mention the case, he keeps passing out. So I'm not really sure. I don't know if he's been. I honestly, I would never guess that Raskolnikov is capable of doing such an act. But I think that the murder just doesn't sit well with him. Maybe because it was so close to his home. I think on more than one occasion, my good friend Raskolnikov has visited the pawnbroker to pawn items before to pay his tuition. So I would suspect him as a murderer in the case, but I think the murder just hit home, and I guess it made him realize how short life can possibly be.
So, Katerina, we had your husband on the show, but he was extremely unhelpful, and we're pretty sure he was drunk. So we thought it best to bring you on the show and ask you what you thought of the crime, and as a member of the community, if you were worried about it at all.
I think the real crime here is the way I've been treated. My family has been given no respect. We've been treated like trash, like shit. I come from an aristocratic family. My father was a very important man. This is ridiculous.
Hi, and we're back with 60 Minutes, an investigation into the St. Petersburg murders. It has just come to our attention just now that the murderer has confessed, and we can confirm that that person is none other than Rodion Romanovich Raskolnikov. Now, if you remember, Raskolnikov was on the show with us. As he was close to the victims, he had done business with them, and he was familiar with the community. We are shocked at this revelation. And in fact, he has confessed to the triple axe murder of both Alyona Lizaveta as well as Lizaveta's baby. Raskolnikov confessed to Ilya Petrovich, who we had also had on our previous segment, and essentially at the police station of his own free will. Coming to you now, we have Ilya Petrovich, an actual recording of Raskolnikov's confession. In what is a rather shocking development, we will hear from investigator Porfiry Petrovich as to why he suspected Raskolnikov all along. Now, we also have Zelmatov and Ilya Petrovich, who will be helping discuss the extent to which their details of the murder reflected Raskolnikov's confession itself. And now, we have Zelmatov. So, Zelmatov, you actually had a conversation with Raskolnikov, the now confessed murderer, a few days prior to this, in which he implicated his guilt. Could you tell us a bit about that?
I knew that bastard. I knew that bastard did it. When we were at the Crystal Palace and he was drunkenly telling me about the deed, I immediately went to Porfiry right after. If you check the interviews, you'll see how confident I was initially. I knew it. Who else would it have been? But back to the story at hand. Anyway, I told Porfiry, and then Porfiry, being the wise old man that he is, he clearly applied enough pressure to the young boy. And now he cried. And now we have the confession. Another job well done by the St. Petersburg police. You're welcome.
Catch him and punish him then.
Oh, we'll make him suffer. But will he make himself?
If he realizes his project was in vain.
Oh. Forgive me, but do you consider yourself as a bit of a Napoleon?
If you forgive me.
Lovely to see you again.
So, Ilya, we understand that Raskolnikov, the now confessed murderer, came to you directly at the station to confess his guilt. Could you tell us a bit about that?
I started to think that my suspicions of Raskolnikov were unfounded. In fact, I told him the very day of his confession, as he came into the station, that I didn't think he had done it. I started to think I was using his illness and his unhealthy mental stature as evidence of his guilt. However, he stated to me as clear as day, it was I who killed the pawnbroker and her sister Lizaveta, and I also robbed them. And after that, the case was closed.
So, investigator Porfiry Petrovich.
That's me?
We understand that actually believed Raskolnikov to be the murderer for quite some time. Could you tell us why you waited so long for his confession and why you thought he did it in the first place?
Let me make one thing clear before I start talking about Raskolnikov's irreproachable guilt. It should be first and foremost noted that his confession, which was performed by his own free will, was set him on the path of rehabilitation and repentance, the path that I believed for him from the very beginning. Regardless of his confession, I was sure of Raskolnikov's guilt, but I had no way of proving it. You know, I mentioned before about the crime article, and I guess since the case is cracked wide open, I might as well let you know that he actually was the author of that very article, leading to my suspicions against him. However, it wasn't admissible in court, so anyway, moving forward, I had lots of evidence, but all circumstantial. I could not find the stolen items. However, it was R's psychological state upon interrogating him firsthand that gave away his inner turmoil. You know, the guilt that he believed as a Superman he'd never face or ever fight actually ate him alive. And in the end, it's what brought justice. So I think this experience has definitely taught him, if anything at all, that he's not a Superman. And that's okay, because none of us are Superman. But anyway, he was clearly struggling between a formulation of self-grounded upon the rationale that he was smarter and better than the common, and he accepted this notion. And as such, he was at war with himself, and with the morality afforded by all of us, by the divine spirit, I think that he finally was able to reach rehabilitation. And again, you know, he was not caught. He came in out of his own free will and confessed. And I believe that's the first path to salvation.
So, Pulcheria, now that your son has confessed to the Triple X murder, can you tell us what your thoughts are on him and what your hopes are for him going forward?
I'm not proud of what my son did, but he did it out of love for his family. He just wanted to support us with money and the resources that we need to live a normal life. I wish he hadn't done it, but I understand where he was coming from, and I do love him.
And Pulcheria, there's an article that your son wrote that has been used as evidence of his mental state prior to the crime. Could you tell us what your thoughts are on that publication?
I've seen that article. My son's an incredibly gifted writer.
Sonia, it's no secret that you have some romantic interest in Raskolnikov, who is now a confessed murderer. Will his conviction change your feelings towards him? And do you see yourself being able to continue a relationship with someone who has committed such a heinous act?
There's no denying that what Raskolnikov did was terrible, and I certainly wish it hadn't happened. He's going to have an incredibly hard years ahead serving his time in Siberia, but at the same time, I don't think we can give up on him. The story of Lazarus comes to mind. Redemption is incredibly important, and it's an opportunity that he and everyone else who's done something wrong deserves. In fact, I plan to travel to Siberia with him, wait for him to serve his time, and I have no doubt that once he does, we'll be able to live a happy and meaningful life together.
So, Dunya, as the sister of the now confessed murderer, can you tell us what you think of the crime and if you thought your brother was capable of such a thing?
I love my brother, but it's hard for him to justify what he did. We all have choices in life, and even in the hardest circumstances, I don't think murder is ever the right decision. I myself have been in difficult circumstances too. I've had men who've attempted to sexually assault me, and even in those times, even with the opportunity to kill my assailant, I chose to do what I thought was right. I wish Raskolnikov had acted similarly to me. So, while I'll always love him, I'm not sure I'll be able to fully forgive what he did.
And there you have it, folks. That is our entire segment of 60 Minutes on the murders in St. Petersburg. It has now been confirmed, and Raskolnikov will be going off to Siberia to serve his sentence. I hope this has been an informative session reviewing a murder and the potential dangers of rational thought in Russia. We will now be taking a break for our commercial sponsors, and we'll be back with the next program after this. Thank you.
It was I who killed the old pawnbroker woman and her sister, Lizaveta, with an axe and robbed them.